Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver. My mission is to bring you closer to organic Japanese green tea, and today what we're going to dive into is into tea blending, especially green tea blending, and how green tea blending is one of the big pillars in Japan for Japanese green tea. When we talk about blending, what do we actually talk about? So blending is actually something which has been made or has been done in the tea industry for a long time. So over several centuries that tea blending is quite a big part of the tea industry. And what actually is tea blending is nothing else than just mixing different teas together. When we talk about the tea, kind of the famous tea brands, their blending is often done between a little bit of lower quality tea and higher quality tea, just to have a good mix in terms of taste, to have a consistent taste as well. And just to have a kind of a similar taste from yield to yield, as the taste of the tea also from year to year can vary, and consumers often wanted to have this similar taste year after year. And the blending also allowed to have a good quality tea, actually also with lower quality leaves, when the good quality tea was just overshadowing the little bit lower quality leaf tea taste. So that's how you were able also to make bigger amounts of tea. When we talk about Japan, there the situation is a little bit different, because it's not that there's a low quality and high quality tea, but often when we go into a little bit higher quality leaf territory, there the taste consistency is the major role for the Japanese green tea farmers. Because also year after year there's always a slight change due to the climate, through the season, when the tea also is harvested, when the tea is ready, really influences the taste. So often when you're looking at Japanese green tea, you find blend teas or blended teas kind of mixed together just to have the same taste year after year. And this leaves also the farmer with a little bit more flexibility in terms of tea taste, and also adapting to the new circumstances. So what we have found when we visited Mr. Henta, that Mr. Henta actually has one sencha where he mixes together up to 8 cultivars. Normally when you look at tea, when you look at different teas, you often have 1, 2, so you have the kind of main cultivar, and then there's often 1 or maximum 2 additional cultivars added. But this one here has 8 different cultivars. And what I asked Mr. Henta is just to give us 2 different, or kind of 2 teas which are in this blend, and then I'll try to show you how they're also a little bit differentiating, and tell you where actually the differences come from. So for example, here I have 3 different teas. The first one is a Samidori, second one is a Okumidori cultivar, and the third one is then the blend of the 8 teas. So you can really beautifully see how also the different, the tea kind of the leaves differentiate in terms of appearance. So when I look at the Samidori, for example, for first, so you can see very small leaves, or rather smaller leaves. You have a little bit of longer leaves as well, so it's kind of a little bit of a mix. And this is also a Fuka Mushi. What clearly comes to the eye is when we compare it with the Okumidori. So this is a second cultivar or second varietal which is in the tea, and you can see how the Okumidori is much smaller again compared to the Samidori. But what actually then, when we take the third one, so when we have all the blend, you can see how much bigger the leaves are. And here what I don't have as a small batch is that you can see that the bigger leaves in here are mainly the Yabukita leaves. So what we can already derive from the view of this is that Yabukita is quite a big amount of this tea. I'm expecting this tea to have a good umami flavor, a little bit of a vegetal, but also slight astringency to it, as the Yabukita shows of this. And the Okumidori and the Samidori, these 2 here are mainly 2 sweet and round and full-bodied teas. So I expect this tea to have a little bit more when I'm coming from a Yabukita, which has quite a strong flavor in terms of broad setup, from a little bit of umami, a little bit of vegetal, and also stringency. I think Mr. Henta is pushing the tea a little bit more onto the sweeter and the more savory section. So here definitely we will have a discovery of kind of a little bit more of a sweeter tea. But let's hop into it. I brought for this my red clay kyusu. I just preheat it slightly. Just a little bit of water, just to preheat it, so you don't have a big temperature drop. Et voila. And we take 5 grams of tea. Voila. And then the water. Good. It is said that you have to leave it in 1 minute. Mr. Henta told us 60 seconds is enough for this tea. So we're gonna wait these 60 seconds. In the meantime, I explain you a little bit more about the temperature of the water as well. Here you can go up to, he says, to 70, 80. I used here 65 Celsius of water. This is around 160 Fahrenheit, so, but he says you can even go up to 175. I like to push it a little bit on the lower edge of the temperature scale, just to have a more sweet, more theanine, a little bit less the polyphenols, less the catechins moving into the tea water, giving the tea a little bit more mellow, a little bit sweeter taste. But nevertheless, when you have a more astringent taste, when you have a more astringent tea, then definitely you have the polyphenols, which also come out at 65. So it's a little bit influencing, but it doesn't change the flavor of the tea. Good, this minute is done. Now let's take this one here. Good. Et voila. What we see is that the tea has a beautiful golden color to it. So instead of, for example, if you have a deep steam or fukamushi, you have more of kind of these greener colors also in the first brewing. Here we clearly see that it is a lightly steamed, so asamushi tea, bringing the tea more kind of in this golden, a little bit more yellowish area. Then, how are the leaves? Let's smell the leaves. So I get a little bit of a creamy nutty note to it. I get a little bit of cashew nut, a little bit of toasted sweet corn, not so much vegetal notes. So I assume the tea to be quite good in sweetness. Let's have a look how the taste is. So get a little bit more of kind of this creamy, kind of round, smooth taste profile, also over the tip of the tongue. It glides really smoothly on the top of the tongue. Very, very beautiful. So the first brewing, definitely very sweet, creamy, round, a little bit of fruitiness. I get a little bit of banana peel, more kind of this smoothness of yeah, really, if you kind of have the banana and you just squash it a little bit and you take it in the mouth. So a little bit more in this direction, I get it. So let's go to number 2. Number 2, only a little bit. 20 seconds more than enough, but I will take even less, and it should turn a little bit more into the greener area, and it does. So I used also a little bit of less water this time, make it a little bit more intense. Very beautiful. Also a little bit more green, not so much yellow, a little bit darker in green tones. Okay, that's pretty astonishing with this tea now. In the second brewing, I get much more kind of a sweet tone, a little bit more of a kind of a savory tone. So it moves a little bit away from the creaminess, from the nuttiness, gives a little bit more space to a vegetal note, gives a little bit more space to a sweet tone, and also a little bit more of savoriness. So in the second brewing, there is actually an increasing kind of savoriness. The umami flavor is getting stronger of this tea. But it has a nice refreshing note in the middle now. So very beautiful, but still strongly sweet, still nicely savory. So a tea which I absolutely like now, due to the fact that sometimes when you brew a green tea, you have the first one which is quite sweet, and then there's a little bit this astringency. But here kind of you have this citrusy, you have a little bit this astringency coming up in the second brewing. But actually what happens is that you definitely have kind of an intensified savoriness, a little bit more of an intense kind of a umami note, bringing this tea in a nice balance between savory sweetness. I even get a little bit of green grapes. I get a little bit of a citrusy, but still kind of a very nice balance between this kind of fresh grass taste and an intensified umami flavor. Now I'm curious how the third brewing will be. So second was delicious. Now number 3, just to have a glimpse of that. And kind of smoothens out again. So a very also a moving tea in terms of first kind of you have this creaminess, nutty, then the second one becomes kind of a refreshing but savory, more intense kind of seaweedy taste profile, and the third one really knows now how to balance out these two notes. So quite an interesting and impressive tea. And I think thanks to the fact that Mr. Henta was mixing these 8 teas together, it was actually this one which finally gave it this creamy, a little bit nutty flavor, not too savory. Then in the second one, the savoriness comes more out, becomes more present. Then you have a little bit of the astringency of the yabukita showing up, a little bit the citrusy notes. And then in the third one, this tea balances very well between these two taste notes. So this tea definitely worth a try if you want to try it. You can get it on our website. Otherwise, if you ever have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer it. And yeah, just leave a comment, subscribe, like, whatever you like to do with this video. Thanks a lot for watching. See you and bye-bye.